Just let me be great. Let me be great. I feel like motherfucking Cassius Clay right now.
Alright, so welcome everybody to the inaugural episode of Creative Control. I am Justine.
And I'm James.
And what we're going to be doing with this is just basically discussing a myriad of things. We'll have conversations that range from politics to pseudo-philosophical debate to social stuff. And we really do want your feedback, your questions, comments, just opinions in general. That's kind of what's going to make this flow for us. We're definitely going to be forthcoming about ours, and we want to connect with the viewers and kind of talk about things that you guys want to hear and answer some questions and things like that. What we're going to talk about today is nature versus nurture. It's pretty much a huge scientific debate. I don't know that we're going to get too scientific. It's really just going to be sort of our opinions on gender roles and things like that. I think that we more or less come down on probably the same side of the issue, but just a few things that have caught our attention as of late that we want to talk about.
Yeah.
All right, so first things first, I feel, I researched something lately, and it said that males and females are 98.5% identical with regard to genetics. And the difference is that, what is that, like, I'm not great with mental math, is that
1.5%.
1.5%, yeah. That 1.5% difference primarily affects the way that we respond to disease and medical treatment and stuff like that. And something that really bugged me out is the fact that our entire society here in America, and probably it is definitely the case abroad as well, almost everything is based on your gender. The way that you interact with people, the way that men interact with women, the way that women interact with women, the way that men interact with other men. It's based on this 1.5% difference, and it really begs the question, like, how much of it is, just the genetic differences, real genetic differences, and how much of it just has to do with the way that you're raised.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's something that is worth talking about. We were having a conversation earlier just discussing gender roles and particularly the interaction between men. And I was discussing just how men have this certain bravado. You can't hug each other, you can't touch each other. If you do, you can't do for so long because people are going to perceive you to be a specific sexual orientation. And it's just absurd. Completely absurd. I think that as humans, we require a certain level of interaction and require a certain level of love and just connection with other people, and to have that limited based on our gender roles is absolutely asinine in my opinion.
I was going to use that word. You just use SAT words. I like
that. SAT words.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I think as a woman, I know that I believe that women are the most marginalized demographic on the face of the planet. Whether we're talking about, being here in America, whether we're talking about abroad, in Asia, it's still the case that if if your family already has a certain number of children and you're, born a female, you might not make it out of the hospital alive. I know that's kind of like off the record hush hush, but we all know that that's what's going on, right? Like, come on. I think that the major problem is the fact that historically women have been treated as second class citizens. And when you look at, the ideologies that permeate our society, we talk about the religions and just the various schools of thought, they basically say in no uncertain terms that women are supposed to take on a secondary role. So when we have interactions as sexes, women are always we're supposed to make ourselves smaller. We're supposed to aspire to marriage versus aspiring to being great in whatever field we want to be great in. Like we were talking about, just posture, and something as simple as posture being so just ridiculously influenced by that debate. It's like, how are men taught to sit? When you're a young man, you're taught to stretch out, do this thing here, everything's supposed to be big. As a woman, you're taught that you're supposed to shrink to make oneself smaller. Right. And I know that you could say, well, I mean, all we're talking about is posture, the way you sit, the way you decide to, hold your frame. But what does that say to you psychologically? Down to the fact that, when a little girl falls and she scrapes her knee, everybody runs over and let me kiss the boo-boo and let me make it better. When it's a boy, what do you say?
Man up, and I hate that. Can I just, off the record?
No, I agree.
I think that is the dumbest thing. It's not even almost. It definitely teaches men to not feel emotion. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's a cause of a lot of the problems that exist within the world. Just within how men interact with one another, with their women. Of course, in just popular culture, you hear about all of the debate with these football players abusing their significant others or, random side chicks, no shade. I definitely feel that that is a product of how men are conditioned to behave. We're taught to be very aggressive and to suck things up or man up. And that's not how you exist in the world. As human beings, we feel things, we have emotions, and that suppression of those feelings causes, not all men, but men typically, to react in certain ways. And I think that if we're able to allow for the outward expression of those emotions and feelings and just desires that are we're taught to essentially ignore, we would be so much better just as a people, as a nation, a world.
I mean, I definitely think that, more than, being a man or a woman, you are a person, you are an entity, you are energy, if you believe anything close to kind of what I believe. And I just think that it's unfortunate that we place ourselves, that we allow society to put us in these boxes that say, well, because you have this form, you have this physical form, you are supposed to behave this way, think this way, and just whatever. And not to mention the fact that, the things that women do, it's like the double standards are heinous. Like I was having a conversation with my mom the other day, and we were talking about, just the rape culture. Mm-hmm. And, I was working on that blog post about, and it has something to do with the fact that like 20% of women on college campuses are sexually assaulted or abused or, harassed or just, whatever, which in my opinion is that's a huge number. It's almost just okay. It's like of the all the colleges and universities that are, kind of experiencing this issue, there are 62, I believe, at this moment that are under investigation, federal investigation for misrepresenting the actual number of sexual abuse cases, not following up on those cases, not submitting them to appropriate authorities, and actually being investigated for possible Title IX, which is the gender equality law violations. Which is, and then, there's that one case at James Madison University that I wrote about where a girl named Sarah Butters was sexually assaulted by 3 classmates. And it was actually recorded, uploaded to a gossip site. She goes back to school, submits it. The director of judicial affairs is like, yep, nope, totally agree. These guys are guilty. And the punishment that they levied was expulsion upon graduation, which essentially means that they're going to be able to stay there, finish their coursework, but at the conclusion of their coursework, they're not going to be able to return for any reason, like you can't come to homecoming type. So it's basically like, what are you telling Sarah Butters? Like, what are you telling her and all the other women who are considering coming forward? The unfortunate thing is that they make your gender identity your entire identity. Mm-hmm. It's like, I am a woman, but I am so many other things beyond that I think are of equal or potentially even greater import. Right. It's just like, it's almost, for me, it's like, I'm also a brunette. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not my entire identity in life. Right. It's like there's so many things that I choose to be. Like honest and kind and ambitious and driven and a feminist and in most cases a Democrat. In most cases, there's some ridiculousness going on there too. You know what I'm saying? But there are so many things that I identify as, and a woman is on the list, but it's only on the list.
But I think that a lot of that is directly correlated to the fact that as people, we feel most comfortable when we can categorize things. Right. So it's like, if I can identify you as a woman, it's like, okay, I know what to anticipate, from her, because this is traditionally or generally how a woman should act to respond, and I therein know how to interact with her because she should possess these qualities. So
it's basically like the Cliff's Notes version of getting to know me as a person. So
right, exactly. And I think that that's the case. I
dislike that. That's awful.
I do think that it's awful. I'm definitely not justifying it, but I definitely think that, it would be ignorant of us to ignore that.
Right.
And I think that beyond gender roles, I think that it extends to pretty much every facet of our lives. I think that if you look at how we interact with different races, I would generally respond different if I was sitting with my white friend, rather than my black friend.
True.
I think it extends to sexuality. If I'm sitting with somebody who's heterosexual, I would interact with them presumably different than I would interact with somebody.
So you do that. You do it because you told me that when you go out with your heterosexual male friends, you drink beer. You never ever drink. This man is the red or white wine king. Okay, I have never witnessed him take a swig of any type.
I feel like I'm being super attacked right
No,
now.
this is
okay,
not- this is
I
just-
feel like
hey,
this
man, I'm just putting it out
is
there.
supposed to be a judgment-free zone, and I'm feeling like
King shade? Are you
really.
serious? Are you serious? This is just oh my goodness. All I'm saying is that as you continue to watch, should you decide to continue to watch us, you will know that this is probably the shadiest person that I know, with the exception of my mother. And they love each other. They love each other because they have that in common. So
Love
no
you,
shade,
Vita.
right? Yeah, hi mom. No shade, but you drink beer with them. You've never drank beer with me.
I mean,
Now I don't like beer.
right. You
but
think
that's
it
not-
tastes like urine?
I
mean,
well, no, just don't put that out there. People be like, how do you know? I imagine based on the smell of urine that it probably tastes a certain way. But no, I think for a first time, I think we've covered some things. I think we'll, obviously we'll come back. We'll talk about more things. We'll get better. I'm gonna play with this whole editing software thing and see if I can make this work. But again, please do comment. Please continue to check back if you have any questions, or if there's something that you want to see us talk about, or you want our take on or whatever. Like, we're definitely open to answering questions and things like that.
Definitely. Be sure to follow us on social media. Follow us on Twitter at The Life Immortal. I guess we'll put it on the bottom of the screen there because it's spelled all kinds of crazy, but
Mine's pretty direct. It's at Steen's World, but I'll make sure that we put that there. And I also what I'm kind of referencing when I say that I'm writing about a few things, I am actually blogging. And so some of the things that we talk about, if we don't go into a lot of depth here, there will be times where I will kind of supplement that with my more extended thoughts in a blog. So if you care to read that, I'll definitely have information for you to check that out as well. But we do want to thank you very much for spending this. I imagine it was like 15 minutes.
Something like that.
Spending this 15 or so minutes with us. We will definitely be back, and J Squared out, man.
Yep.